Okay, well, everyone, welcome to our first international MiXR event. So MiXR is our academic forum for the VR Club at UIUC, and we are super excited to have Nem and Mila here for a talk. I'm Robbie. I am the VR Club's academic advisor. We've been running this academic forum for about a year or so now, and we're really excited to see that the general public is interested. So we'll have this session recorded up on YouTube later. We'll share that link on our Discord. Yeah, just thank you to everyone who's coming here, regulars, newcomers on the Zoom call. I expect more to shuffle in as the talk progresses. Real quick, before we get going, I do want to announce we have a VR chat event right after this. It's just fun social hours at the VR Club here, and so we're going to invite anyone else to join us and hang out in VR chat. We will have everyone add Rebel Project, Jaden right here, and he'll invite you to the world, but we will figure that out after the talk. So, quick intro here. We have Nem and Mila, an amazing researcher duo who last year published their social VR lifestyle survey for 2023. This was a really exciting piece of work that caught our eye. Nem is a virtual girl, a VTuber, and an author. And Mila is a cultural studies scholar from University of Malta. And so without further ado, I will hand it off to you to proceed with your talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Nem. Good morning from Japan. Well, do you know millions of people around the world are already spending their lives in the metaverse? I'm also one of them. In Japan, as a metaverse culture evangelist, I'm spending much time in the metaverse every day and conveying its culture to you, people in the physical world. As introduced, I'm not only as a researcher, but also as a VTuber, virtual YouTuber, entertainer. I am also, as a virtual YouTuber, I am the world's oldest individual YouTuber. I started my activity in 2017. And also, I sometimes appear on various TV programs in Japan. And I'm also publishing the book to explain the metaverse world in Japan. Okay, today I go first to do my demonstration, and after that, my study partner Mila will explain the social VR lifestyle survey. Okay. Well, in the beginning, let me explain my equipment. But today, you guys, VR club members are already so super familiar with VR equipment, so maybe I have nothing to tell you. Anyway, let me explain my own environment. Now I am using this one, HTC Vive Pro. This one has some interesting feature like facial tracking and eye tracking and full body tracking, everything. I'm using that kind of tracking feature every day. This is a facial tracking sensor. This is yeah. Sometimes this is very troublesome when I drink a beverage. And yeah, suppose this is my, how can I say, internal person. Now, the sensor on my VR goggle is detecting my all facial movement, like eye movement and facial movement, or something like that. Yeah. Currently, my facial movement is totally synchronized to my own avatar, and I'm feeling my avatar like my own body. And the finger tracking, my controller is uh, in, index controller is detecting my all finger movement in analog way. So yeah, it's something like this. And then for tracking, currently I'm using, I'm putting 3 Bible tracker sensors. This is Bible tracker. One to my stomach and the 2 on my leg. So her tracking is now active, and yeah, I can stand up. Yeah. But today, yeah, we are so many. Today's audience is a VR club's member, so maybe some of you are always doing like this every day for for tracking movement and dive into the VR world in my full body. And yeah, why do we use tracking mechanism like this? Well, the answer, I think, is that to gain a sense of unity to the avatar, feeling the avatar's body as if it were my own physical body. As a result, experience in the metaverse becomes super realistic, sometimes more than physical reality. And not only VR goggle tracking equipment, I'm also using the voice changer. Now I am speaking with my voice converted to the girl's voice. When both my appearance and the voice are both changed, it feels like I've been reborn as a different person in the virtual reality. Yeah, and this is the my life in metaverse. And then now I am. This is my home. Uh, uh, every day. Today it's today is class to the university, so I am showing my slides here. But ordinarily, I am showing here the TV screen, YouTube screen, and I am spending my own time with my friend, uh, seeing, spending some contents or making something, making some contents in this virtual world. Yeah, it seems VR club member are very familiar with the VR chat. VR chat is also one of the social VR super major one. Today I am talking to you from Resonite. That is another social VR service from Europe. And yeah, yeah, this is same as VR chat. We can set access restriction. Unlike physical reality, we can freely set the access restriction to the spaces. And yeah, I allow my old friend to enter this space, and I spend time with my friend, talking with each other, watching TV together, everything. And oppositely, you can also create a space that only people who have paid can access, and we can hold a paid event or something. As a virtual YouTuber, I sometimes do music live event in the virtual world, and I have gathered up to 1,000 people at most. If you try to hold such a big event in physical reality, it requires big costs such as venue fee and many staff members, something like that. But it's in the metaverse, you can operate that kind of super big event with my with my own hand. and creativity. Um, in the VR chat, I think you can uh, you can put your own content like avatar world, something uh, you create in your PC, and you use Unity to upload that kind of content to the VR chat. But in the case of Resonate, that kind of feature is included in the virtual world itself. So you I you see. This is, yeah, of course. Uh, it's already a 3D modeling. Like this, uh, we can do 3D modeling, programming, everything in the virtual space. That kind of creative feature is very fantastic, and yeah, that kind of mm, hey, and yeah. So it's very useful, and I think here Metaverse is kind of utopia for the old creators. Oh, this is the photo of my Metaverse event. Now, this is also another Metaverse called uh, なんだっけ this is another Metaverse Japanese service cluster, and yeah, I'm always do a VR event like this. In the VR chat, in one VR space, only 20 or 30 people can join at the same time. But in the case of cluster, we can gather uh, up to 500 people. So yeah, but like this, I am switching the social VR depending on the goal. To talk with my friend, I use VR chat. There are so many people, and as a VTuber making a virtual video streaming or something, I basically use Resonate because the visual quality is very good rather than VR chat, and we can very easy use many tracking feature like facial tracking, eye tracking, something like that, much rather than VR chat. And if I do VR event, I use cluster as I showed, uh, because cluster has a big capacity, not like Resonate cluster. And in the case of cluster, not only VR people like me, um, mobile phone user and the PC desktop user can also join. It's very more flat world. Yeah, like that. I'm switching the VR world, but my identity is always same. Virtual girl name. My avatar. Uh, I am using the avatar like this. Yeah, this is my own avatar, and this is my unique avatar. Only one, only I can use this avatar in the world, and this is only designed for me. It's designed by my favorite famous Japanese manga artist Yuki Hotate, and this is his illustration. I ordered him illustration to draw me, and a modeler, my favorite modeler, uh, uh, designed the 3D model, this avatar. Yeah, and yeah, this is my one of my main avatar. But not only this, I have so many avatars. よいしょ。あれ。よいしょ。あれ。 感じかな。Yeah. Can you see this? Well, yeah, this is they are both me, but they are created by another 3D modeler artist. Actually, yeah, this is both me, but the character image is very different, right? Yeah. How can I say? My current avatar is designed by, as I said, a manga artist, but his design way is uh something like more realistic one, but this one is more cute avatar. Uh, this is yeah uh depending on the characteristic of the artist. Yeah. Now I switch it to this avatar. Now this is me, and she is now empty. Yeah. So I mean, my soul is moved from this avatar to this avatar, and this avatar has some many gimmick. Like this. This avatar is I ordered to my avatar creator, but actually this avatar is created by my fan. One of my fan created this avatar, and she gave me this avatar. Uh, in the VTuber world, we have that kind of culture of the fan art. Art is ordinary 2D illustration, but in my case, some of my fan created me a 3D model or avatar or something like that. This is also the another avatar. よいしょ。Hello. Yeah. よいしょっと。入った。Hello. This is, yeah, this is small avatar, but the function is very great. Eye tracking, facial tracking, and full body tracking, everything works as well like this normal avatar. But portion is very different. Using this kind of normal avatar, the experience is something I live on to the manga character. But in this 2D avatar I use, the experience is also very different. It is something like I live on as a manga character. It's anime character, and this is manga comic character, and my body movement changes, and my feeling, experience, everything will change depending on the avatar. So avatar is very, yeah, as you know, super important in the metaverse life. That is the trigger of my feeling, experience, everything. Okay. Yeah. Hi again. Now my soul is switched, moved again from this to my original avatar. I am back. Yeah, it's something like that. Okay, and yeah, this is short explain about my avatar. Yeah, I experienced my equipment and this world functionalities and my avatars. And in the next, I let me super shortly demo how I am doing my, well, okay, so doing the music live. I am as a virtual YouTuber. I sometimes do a music live event in the virtual world, and yeah, I am to my computer, I'm connecting my tuner, music tuner, so I can always sing a song. よし、ちょっと。ちょっと。あれ Now I turned on my music. Can you hear me? Yeah. We don't have time, so yeah, I don't sing this song for full song, but yeah, it's just a demo. This is a song named Phantom Dance. Okay. Sorry, short. Yeah, that is today. Thank you for listening. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this song is named Phantom Tense. Phantom Tense is the special feeling we feel in the Metaverse world. Our budget VR goggle only realize by the sound and the visual, but actually Metaverse native people like me spending so much time in the metaverse, and we are feeling this avatar body as my own physical body. That kind of people sometimes feels more feeling like touch sensation or uh, touch sensation, the wind of the world, everything. Yeah, that is a very virtual sensation that we feel in the virtual reality. That is also a part of our study. So let me hand over to Mila. She can explain our survey results and some fantastic, interesting findings. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me share my screen. I cannot share my screen.
Do I need to give permission?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Security. Security.
In the meantime, quite funny. I normally experience several phantom senses, but like the casual ones, you know, when you feel someone touching your face. And one more specifically, I can taste certain foods, such as pizza, burgers, and ramen, which says quite a lot about my diet. But whenever I see those like foods in VR chat, like I can smell the pizza, and it gets me really hungry. It's not the best.
You should be able to share now. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's all good. Can you? Yeah, I think you can see it, and I think I can see what I'm sharing also, right? You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see.
All right. So, hello. My name is Mila, or Liudmila Bredikhina, if it's for the longer version. So today we'll be talking about 3 different things. One of which about my own research, then our joint survey with NEM, and then I will close off with some questions regarding romantic relationships in VR chat. This is my avatar. I decided that I am an elf as of this year, and I'm living my life to the fullest in VR chat. So, a couple of words about myself. So I graduated from Geneva University in Asian Studies back in 2021 and received a prize for my thesis work. which focused on Japanese men using virtual cute girl avatars for VTube activities. And I compared that recent, let's say, subculture to traditional theater arts, traditional Japanese theater arts more precisely. And I use those as let's say, as a conceptual framework to analyze the contemporary internet culture, basically. And since last year, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Malta, Department of Gender and Sexuality, Faculty for Social Wellbeing. And I'm basically continuing my research, but I still focus on Japanese men who use virtual cute girl avatars, but I focus more on the cute aspect and what it means, what it symbolizes, and what it enables people to do, right? And as well as all of the gendered codes that come with the word cute, right? And yeah, I've since my master's, I've been writing articles, be them peer review or not, and participated in a couple of conferences, and also gave a couple of courses here and there about my research. So like I said, first I'll talk about a little bit about Babiniku. So that's the term used to describe be it men or women incarnating those cute girl characters. Then I will briefly talk about social real lifestyle survey in relation to part 1 and part 3. And then I'll finish off with a typical VRChat, let's say, sweet relationship. So as I said, my research focuses on VTubers, so virtual YouTubers, such as, for example, Nem, as she has very well demonstrated. And so the entertainers who use technology, be it facial tracking in VR or just a webcam, to transform themselves into virtual characters and post entertaining content on platforms such as YouTube or, for example, TikTok more recently. And my research focuses more specifically on Babiniku. So Babiniku is an abbreviation for Bachelor Bishojo Jiniku, which stands for Virtual Cute Girl Incarnation. And the term is not gendered, but there's quite a lot of male users, and I specifically focus on those ones. Of course, you know, some use 3D characters, some use 2D characters, some use voice changers or train their voice to sound different or keep their male voice or female voices, you know. Some present themselves as those, let's say, mythical or fictional entities, whilst others simply stream using the avatar, for example, whilst doing gameplay. The content, same way as with any stream, it varies greatly depending on what the person's good at and what their audience likes. And of course, the reason behind, you know, becoming a virtual anime girl varies deeply and highly from person to person, right? I specifically focus on the gender dimension in terms of what it enables the individual and in what manner do they contest or reaffirm certain hegemonic expectations. So let's say you decided to become a virtual cute anime girl, because why not? Life is great like that. So and you want to take it a little bit deeper and they're just not like stream, let's say, by using an avatar. You want to really incarnate it by moving and, you know, training your voice to sound more cute, or training your gestures, you know, to resemble more the character that you want to portray. Of course, there's much that can be said. Due to the time limit, I will only briefly introduce you to what is called kawaii move. So kawaii means cute in Japanese, movement. And it implies cute movements that users develop and train, usually in front of a virtual mirror, for example, such as in VRChat, to move in a cute manner. Because as I think most of you have experienced VR, with your controllers, you cannot exactly, unless you use the really professional, you know, motion tracking like they did for Avatar movies, the way you move your hand in the physical world will not be, let's say, as 100% accurate in the virtual world. So if you want to do certain movements, you might have to adapt them to the technology. In the same manner, for example, if you're using, you know, just a webcam, the range of your movements might be a little bit more limited. So it's quite interesting to see how users, you know, they develop codes or they reuse certain anime and manga codes to portray and train those cute movements. During my research, I had several people give me a number of, let's say, tricks or rules, if you want, to portray those cute movements. Some of them said you have to move like if you are in oil, so, you know, in a slimy, this kind of manner. You have to start and end movements slowly. You do not have to, mimic a physical girl's movements, but be inspired by those found in like anime or manga. You also have to optimize your movements for a kawaii character, because what's important to know, you want to move in a manner that is, let's say, most appropriate and goes best with the type of character you might portray. For example, if I am playing a skater girl character, I might move in a slightly different manner than if I'm trying to portray an elf. You try to adapt a little bit your movements to your own personality and also to the character that you're portraying. There's also this idea of exaggerating the movements, moving either as small as possible and curving your body, waving your hand, and for example, the way you shift your leg or from one side to another, and also like moving the body and doing like the most stereotypical peace sign and stuff like that. And then, of course, for example, if you do use a 2D character using Live 2D, which is a technology used normally to animate those characters with face to capture the facial movements, you will not be able to move, as freely as if you were in VR. So you'll have to also adapt a little bit your movements. And the people I talked to, they told me like they would focus more on the eye contact, on winking, maybe zooming in, zooming out their character, trying to seduce the audience with the gaze, this or tilting their head, or using short keys for certain expressions to, for example, with like the typical that one. I don't know if you can see what I'm trying to mimic. But the goal with all of that is to describe an atmosphere and a way of living. And most importantly, what I have been quite often told, the goal with all of those good movements, because they might appear, and they could, and they do appear, as very stereotypically feminine. But the goal is not to imitate, as I say, a physical woman, right? The goal is to kind of attempt to approach oneself and of the most like ideal and perfect anime girl character that one could imagine, right? Which of course goes sometimes with femininity, but that I will talk a little bit later about. So you might wonder, why go through all this trouble? Because it's one thing just to use an avatar for streaming at the bottom of your window, but it's a whole other thing, if you spend time training your voice, training your movements. It implies sometimes buying equipment, learning new software, just training your body basically, and adjusting and spending hours and hours doing it. So you might wonder why go through all of this trouble, right? Now, the one of the conclusions that I have come up with was based on my master's thesis research, where I surveyed about 51 babiniku who were all male and living in Japan and were Japanese. And what they basically told me is that, well, they use the technology to transform themselves into virtual cuties and create an illusion of a bishoujo. Bishoujo is this cute girl character, right? By using technology, movements, and other elements, they become kawaii characters, each living as their ideal self. This notion of becoming this ideal kind of fantasy self that you have imagined, that you have created, and then you are moving is very important, right? Of course, the reasons, for becoming vary a little bit from person to person, but I did notice a trend throughout all of the responses, for all of the responses that I have collected. Some, become bishoujo because it's popular, because, many users have told me, if you look at VTubers, majority of those who have most of views have feminine characters. So if they want to start VTubing and get in an audience, you will tend to try to adopt an appearance that's the most popular, which is quite natural, it makes sense. Others simply because they like the character. Or for some others, it was a way to, express themselves differently, to go against certain hegemonic expectations. Now, Japan is a very particular context in which, in the 1990s, there was the bubble burst, huge economic crisis, a little bit like ours, 08. They also had the 08, but that was the prior one. And, before men were kind of expected to work super long hours, provide for their families, very, at the time, something that we all know from the past decades, right? And with time, they felt like they could no longer fulfill that role, but also many of the respondents I talked to, they expressed that, they could not, due to societal expectations, express themselves. For example, they could not go and say at work that they like cute things, or they could not express their emotions, and they were expected, to work hard, make money, support a family, and they weren't satisfied with those requirements, which I think is pretty normal, because I think we have more to life than working from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. every day. And so for some of them, becoming this virtual cute girl character was a way to express their feelings and also the emotions, and to communicate, because this cute girl anime character, it went kind of against all of those sociocultural expectations. The cute girl character, she does not work, she does not have to file her taxes, she can fail and people wouldn't mind if she fails or if she does a mistake. She can sometimes act dumb, she can express say that she likes cake and I don't know, like the color pink, and nobody will care. She can scream, she can laugh as freely as she wants. She's not expected, she's not bound by certain norms and expectations. So it can become a manner to express yourselves in a different way, and also for some to really stress, because when you become a cute girl, unless you disclose your social status, where you work, your age, your sex, or your gender, people will not know. Okay, there are internet sleuths, but apart from those, people will not know. So you no longer have this hierarchy. Oh, okay, so he works at that company as a CEO, so I have to address him in that manner. No, the person in front of you becomes just this cute girl character. And many responses I have talked to, they said that this actually liberated them and allowed them to express themselves differently. With that being said, very quickly, like Nem has explained, a lot of people are using VRChat, and not only VTubers become cute girl characters. Actually, as I'll explain in our social VR survey, a lot of men also like to use feminine characters for online activities. And that's something that we have discovered also throughout our social VR lifestyle survey. Unfortunately, I cannot go through all of it because it's 82 pages. But we collected very briefly about more than 2,000 answers from different regions, such as Japan, Asia. We excluded Japan from Asia for a simple reason that we collected more than 1,000 answers from Japan and about 100 from Asian countries. So it would have been, we found that it wouldn't have been ethically correct to combine the two, hence the separation. Then from European users and from North American users. You can check more for details in the social lifestyle survey, but I'll just go through it quickly. We devised it in 5 different parts, such as lifestyle and community, trying to understand why people use social VR, what was the purpose, the identity, what kind of, did they use their real name or not, what avatars they preferred, their vocal expressions, communication styles, questions regarding skinship, distance, romance, and sex among users. And then economy, we tried to see whether they could make a living by living in VRChat or other social VR platforms, whether they wanted, how much they were spending on those platforms, be it for buying avatars or 3D materials. And then we closed the survey with phantom sense to see what kind of sensations people were actually perceiving. Now, I will go only in certain details. So when we asked the users whether they were male, female, or identified outside of the binary, the majority were, as you can see in blue, male users. Apart in North America, where we have well, I can't even say it's a more even distribution, but it's the most even amongst the 3, let's say. But as you can see, predominantly in Japan, Asia, and Europe, the majority are male users. However, when we look at avatar appearance, the majority of male users, 75% of them prefer feminine presenting avatars, and that kind of reminds me of the VRChat meme when you see 2 dudes going into VRChat and then coming out as 2 anime girls. That's basically the idea behind it. And we know that memes come from something that actually exists, and that was one is represented quite well. What's also quite interesting is that a lot of female users also prefer feminine avatars. But still some of them do use masculine avatars, or as we can see in the yellow, some use ones that cannot be identified either as feminine or masculine, so more gender neutral, let's say. So, but why choose, different avatar appearance? Like I told you a little bit for the reasons amongst Babiniko, but what's going on in VRChat? And actually we see something very, very similar in the sense that 61% they simply choose avatars because they like the visual appearance, they like the skin, they think it looks nice, it's attractive, it's something that they want to purchase or make or are gifted, and they just play their avatar. But then 27% they use it because it allows them to express themselves and communicate with others. And here we find a little bit this idea of being virtual characters, certain characters, especially when it comes to characters with a different gender identity, as allowing people to express themselves in a different manner, which actually eases the communication. And then at 7%, we have the choose characters have a different appearance. For example, if you're male, you use a feminine avatar because of gender dysphoria, but also like for my personal experience, I, for example, had a friend who was going through a transition, and she used the feminine presenting avatar to help her with the transition because it was the best way for her, let's say, to go through the process. So we can see that, there are multiple reasons. And of course, we could go more into details into each of them to see, then the variations in answers. And we call this avatar species because of the translation and because what we wanted to represent is basically what type of avatars that we're using. And as we can see, majority, be it number 1 or number 2, it has a kind of a humanoid appearance. 41% completely humanoid, like Nem. And semi-humanoid will be, for example, like me with my elf ears. I'm showing my face, but my avatar. Or like cat girl ears, animal ears. And then we have the rest, such as humanoid or more cyborg, monsters, plants, and animals. You might be wondering why the word furry is not part of this, simply because there's such a great variety of identifications within the furry community that we could not easily represent it. It was a quantitative survey. We had to use terms that were most simple. So we presented those categories and we let the users choose where they felt they identified the most. And of course, we explained that semi-humanoid implied, for example, categories, etc., etc. And so where do you get those avatars, right? So for example, Nem, as she has mentioned, her favorite manga artist designed it, and then her favorite modeler created the 3D avatar. I personally used Viroid, which is like a platform quite often used by VTubers to design their characters. And then I exploited it through Blender with a lot of grain. But as you can see, the majority, 61%, use modified avatars, be it ones that they were free for distribution or purchased. And around 11%, they use purchase avatars that they unmodified. But we can see that majority, combine the two, about 80%, they use avatars that are personal and that are personalized. So they would not choose an avatar that they randomly saw, let's say, in VRChat and copied. So there is this idea of needing your avatar for identification and to be personalized, which is quite interesting. And what I found very surprising is that over half of the users, the 34 plus 21, they use full body tracking. The reason why I'm saying that is I feel like when maybe like 3 years ago, it was not as popular due to the high costs. But now with the new Vive trackers, we have also Mokopi, we have other solutions that allow users to do full body tracking. We can see that it's something that's quite important. And at 29%, which is quite significant, users have said that they do not have the equipment, but they would actually want to use it in the future. So there's 25% part of it might have access to full body tracking, let's say next year, within the next years, which is quite significant because we see you not only need personalized avatars in VRChat, but you also want avatars that you can move to fully embody and fully experience the space. And you might think that given that the majority of users are male, but they use feminine avatars, that they might want to change their voice. But actually, the majority, 75%, they talk in their natural voice. and only 4% like use vocal techniques or 7% voice changes. Quite interesting. This year we saw the introduction of AI. So some use AI technology to replace their voice with the voices of other people, or like through machine learning, which is just quite interesting. This is one significant change that we saw. And then, you know, like I told you at the beginning, as you become those different characters and entities, and your soul is kind of is incarnated in virtual spaces, you might communicate in a different manner. And what we see is that majority of users actually are closer to one another than in the physical world. And they engage in skin-to-skin contact with close friends, something that I think we will not see quite often, people patting one another on the heads in the real world, right? But it's something that's quite common, for example, in VR chat. So we see that by changing, you know, your appearance and incarnating those virtual characters, you get closer to one another. And this was kind of far-fetched way to get into the subject of VR love, which is my favorite fascination. Quite a lot of people, 41%, have fallen in love in VR chat because they fall in love with the personality majority of the times of the user, or their visual characteristics and their voice. But it was quite interesting is that like for 67% of those users, knowing whether the person they have fallen in love with is actually male, female, or identifies as non-binary or transgender or anything else is not important, which I think is quite considerate, because we might have those requirements, let's say, in the physical world, but they seem to be diminished in the virtual space. And when we're talking about romantic partners, more like romance rather than sexual intercourse, we also have about 32% that have engaged in, you know, romance in virtual spaces. And quite interesting, about 41% of those people, the people that have engaged in romantic relationships in virtual worlds, they're also their partners in the physical world. Which brings me to the last part of this presentation, which is osato. So osato is this, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm trying to mimic, but here you have osato is the Japanese, let's say, term for VR romantic relationships. And I have written a paper about it. So osato literally translates as sugar. And it's referred to, the term refers to, you know, the kind of VR chat relationships that are, they're kind of like lovers, but like kind of like best friends. It's something that's fleeting. It's something supposed to be sweet. It's something that can last, but quite often is consumed within a couple of weeks. Of course, some then become romantically involved with each other in the physical world, but the majority of osato partners, they are men who use virtual cute girl avatars, who are in those sweet relationships with other men who use virtual cute girl avatars. And both parties identify quite often as heterosexual, which is quite interesting from academic standpoint. And here we have this type of meme that happens then afterwards, which was quite fun and quite popular. But what I want to, you know, beyond the meme aspect of it, we see this kind of idea and this discourse amongst those users that, you know, through VR chat, there's this new kind of form of sexuality where the gender and the sex of the user is as important or important at all, as long as the virtual appearance is that of a cute girl. The virtual appearance kind of primes on the physical characteristics. And then like the users that I have interviewed, they said that they don't really care who, like even if the person is talking with his male voice, it doesn't matter as long as the appearance and the way they act is quite cute. It doesn't matter. And the way they identify also their relationships is differently from just like love and this idea of, you know, living together and then potentially getting married, but more like very good friends, close friends, someone you might do something with, but also someone who's close to you, right? And for them, through VR chat, they're kind of acquiring this new form of sexuality, as I have been quite often told. So what are the implications of this kind of virtual love? Well, it kind of allows you to hack societal expectations, because as users said, you know, after working long hours, instead of going back home and being alone or being with someone who doesn't care about me, well, I spend my time talking to my, you know, sugar partner, and it makes me happy. For some, it becomes a tool, you know, by engaging in romance that is in VR chat, it becomes a tool to, you know, experience themselves, enjoy their life. and also like just casually interact with other users, without having the physical costs of traveling and meeting with others. But it also, allows individuals to kind of reconstruct the reality and modify its aim, perspective, and values at an individual and micro community level. And what I mean by that, and what I think we notice in certain like VHS spaces, is it enables us, I say us, but it's a general us, to kind of become who we are and sometimes construct not a reality, but interactions on our own terms without having certain filters or, let's say, blockers of the physical world that might not enable us to act as freely or in a manner that we feel best represents ourselves. And also it enables people, to engage in romance or express their sexuality, experiment with their identity in a manner that might be more safe for them than in the physical world. That's it. Sorry, I really powered through the whole presentation. But yeah, those were the different aspects that I wanted to talk about briefly today. And I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will see if I can stop sharing.
The original our research presentation has more than 80 pages and published. You can freely access.
I will.
So, yeah, we are open for the opinion. Yeah.
I will send the link in the chat. So if you
sounds good.
can access it, if I can find it. There's no chat in it. Oh yeah, there's a so yeah, it's in English and Japanese. So you can access it. We have 82 pages to look through. If you have any questions, any feedback, you can email any of us. Our contact info is on the pages there. You can also read through the methodology and the reasons why certain groups were chosen, why certain platforms were chosen. I only showed like certain general graphs due to the time limit. But yeah, feel free to look at it, give us feedback, and support us for our next projects.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if you have the time, Nem and Mila, but do you have 10 minutes for a Q&A?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, that'd be awesome. So people at home, feel free to either unmute yourselves and ask questions or type in the chat. People here, anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I actually have a question about like say, because I saw in your presentation that a lot of like VR chat users or just social VR users use female avatars. Do you think that has to do with the fact that like if I go into like can't remove that most of the avatars are like mostly female, like they're trying to like choose the female avatar first?
I think there's a lot of different, it could be because they like the appearance and everything else. But I think also what plays into it is at the beginning, especially for example in VTubers, but also filled with VRChat, a lot of avatars that look good and that you can experiment with fashion and accessories were, female presenting. So I think that also played a lot into it. We're starting to see a little bit more like more male male avatar fashion starting in with like especially like fashion shows and everything. So it's starting to become a little bit more popular. But I think that was also one of the reasons because, unless let's say you choose a more photorealistic or more realistic avatar, you want an avatar that you can have fun with, right? And have fun in any terms that you want, but that looks appealing, that you can maybe adjust, change, and everything. And a lot of avatars, at least for example on Booth, which is a Japanese website where you can buy avatars, be for VHR, VGBM accessories, 3D models, everything. A lot of avatars that existed and that were, let's say, appealing beyond a simple kind of Roblox style, basic avatar, were actually feminine looking avatars. So I think that played quite at least also a big role into it. And then maybe you have something to add?
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's just an observation I had because like I said, if you go through VCAT or Booth, you always see the majority of it's like female avatars. So yeah.
Hence the meme.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one really quick for Nem. I was wondering, did you transition from Neos to Resonite, or what platform did you originally start on? Because I know Resonite, if I remember correctly, wasn't at least publicly available until 2023. So what did you use as a platform before that?
Oh, uh, sorry, what's the point of the question?
What
Um,
did you use as a platform before Resonite?
Ah, you're talking about Neos VR, right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, that is, how can I say? That is a super complicated history. Anyway, you can think, Resonite as a one of the new version of the Neos VR functionality is mostly same, and yeah, that is divided to Resonite. Just a reason of the internal affairs of the Neos VR. So as a one of the user, Resonant is just one of the new version of the Neos VR, and the functionality is mostly same as Resonant. And we can easily make many 3D model everything and programming everything in the virtual world. That kind of functionality is mostly completely same
Yeah.
as the Neos VR.
Awesome, thank you.
I think we should have time for one or two more
Okay.
questions if anyone has any.
I Yeah, so I noticed like within the statistics that we're looking at, you specifically mentioned the sort of like undermining or flipping of gender roles and expectations, and that people interested in relationships in VR tend to identify with heterosexuality. Would you expect, like, if you did this survey again in a couple of years down the lines, the statistics to kind of shift with changing views on like the LGBT community, or would you expect them to stay like relatively the same?
I think it will vary a little bit by region. I'm saying that because I have discussed that with the North American user within the furry community. And I remember her telling me that she has seen a lot of men come into VRChat and also women, and then experiment with their identity, sexuality and gender identity, and become part of the LGBTQI community. I think it might depend on cultural and local perceptions of the LGBT and what users might perceive sexuality as. What I mean by that is, for some, for example, they will be like, oh, in the physical world, I'm a heterosexual male, but in the virtual world, I don't mind if my partner, let's say, is of the same sex and gender as me, but has a cute girl appearance. So they might separate the sexuality depending whether it's in the virtual space or in the physical space. So there are those type of nuances. So I think we might notice a shift, but it would be interesting to see how to approach the question while also taking into account, the cultural and societal parameters, as well as what's sexuality, whether there is a difference between like virtual world sexuality and physical world sexuality. So that's something that could be quite interesting to explore further down the road, and which might demonstrate that there might be a change, because people might discover themselves and say, oh no, well, I do no longer identify as what I identified before.
In United States, several percentage of people are switching their gender by a reason of LGBT or transgender or that kind of reason. But the percentage of the reason totally depending on the region. For example, in Japan, the people were switching their sexuality by more casual reason. I think that is coming from their culture. Maybe how do you Americans think? Maybe, for example, for American people, being a virtual girl in the virtual world is more challenging thing. Maybe, but in Japan, this kind of babiniku VTuber is one of the very usual culture. We can quickly become virtual girl with more casual reason. Uh, for example, just to communicate. So, that is how do you think the American people? I think the how can I say, the barrier is very different depending on the culture, depending on the region. In Japan, it's more casual, but maybe for United States, it's more challenging. That kind of culture different result in the difference of the percentages, maybe.
Culture origin, and I would say also existing internet culture, for example, in Japan, Nico Nico Doga, which is like kind of YouTube, to butcher it in a little bit. There has been like since 2010 a lot of content people using like face rig or other technology to try to make videos using cute girl characters, or like visual novels using cute girl characters, and it was, let's say, as done in a manner as if you'd say you will use a feminine character in World of Warcraft. Could be for certain tactics, but also for storytelling and just for the fun, because people like that character. So, you know, if you approach using characters of like a different gender identity in VR from that perspective, of course, there could be lower, let's say, chances of it impacting maybe your identity or sexuality. But if you come from, you know, from, let's say, not from that internet culture background, but just from like, from a different, let's say, background or culture, where, for example, you would, it would be more, let's say, expected of you and for yourself to use a character that represents you as you are, maybe then in that case, using character of and gender identity that is different, it might implicate something else, and maybe a change or maybe a quest for a different identity. So it also depends, you know, on your cultural environment. And also I would say, since we're dealing with things that are basically digital and on the internet to an extent, it also depends on what part of internet you grew up with, in a sense, you know, what were you doing gaming? Were you doing more like watching what type of videos and everything? That all of those things that impact and shape our understanding of virtual identity.
I am also not a transgender in the physical reality world. I am normal man in the physical world, but yeah, I become virtual girl just to show myself. Yeah, the reason is very barriers.
Yeah, it looks like we have one question in chat. I can read it here from Sebastian Yang. Thanks for the talk. I can see VR chat is serving their core users group very, very well. I'm curious if you see a conflict if VR chat were to expand their base to appeal to more mainstream users.
I think with the fact that we saw, at least in Japan, in if I believe I'm not saying something wrong, about 8% increase in female users this year, and we also see a younger population, starting not only people in their late 20s or 30s, but also a little bit early 20s starting to join VRChat. I think we see it a little bit expanding, and I see some videos on TikTok with VRChat. The question will always be whether those people will stick or whether they would prefer other solutions. I'm saying that because, for example, in Japan, we have Cluster that Nem mentioned, which is quite often used for social events, but it's you know, being in Cluster is different than being in VRChat, and that has become more mainstream. So I think it will also depend a lot. The shifts, of course, the shifts, you know, there will always be shifts depending on the audience. But whether people would be interested in joining VRChat for social events, that's another question, especially with more and more, you know, social VR platforms coming out and existing. Maybe people will not be as interested. But how would they have to expand their base? That's quite also a good question. And I think one of the issues that they will have to tackle is potentially, like any other problem, some existing issues with harassment. And we kind of researched into that last year, 2 years ago, 2022, where we saw that users across platforms, they would prefer like better moderation systems and everything. And as a platform expands, you know, those issues need to be taken a little bit more seriously to appeal to a wider audience. I'm not sure that answers exactly the question. I think I went off a tangent as usual. But yeah.
Well, without holding you all any longer, I want to say thank you to Nem and Mila so much for
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. The demo was awesome. The talk was amazing. So YouTube, please feel free to stay connected with us. Anytime you have any public events or want to reach back out, please do so. I just want to say a couple of things before we end here. Again, thank you to the people who joined from home. And thanks for everyone showing up in person. This was our first kind of event of this sort, and hey, it went awesome. So thank you to you all. I will post in the Discord Nem and Mila's social VR lifestyle survey 2023. I will also post tonight or tomorrow the session recording here. So feel free to share that with anyone you think would be interested in it. And then real quick, I'll plug some stuff on our end of things. Next week, we have another talk from someone on campus here. It's Dr. Mike Yao from the Media Tech and Social Behavior Lab. So we'll be hearing from their VR work. VR Club is getting a treadmill soon, so everyone build hype for that. We're super pumped. An omnidirectional treadmill. And then lastly, I want everyone to know that we are just about to run a VR chat event right after this talk. So if you're want to tune in from home, please add Rebel Project on VR chat. I'll post it in the chat here.
Yeah, it's a DJ and anybody else or you can just join me.
Okay, if you know
Chase.
what's your
Crazy Face.
If you know Crazy Face on VR chat, then he'll start the world. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. One more round of applause.
Oh,
Thank
you
you.
guys meet soon after this
Yes,
in the VR chat.
yes, yeah, please join.
Oh,
Yeah, if you want
so
to.
I can quickly join. Move to VR chat. Yeah,
All right,
then
well, we'll get
see you
it
then.
up.
Going to
Yeah,
sleep.
and let's take picture together. You must sleep. It's midnight in Europe.
You get some rest.
Thank you, Miller. You must
Thanks,
soon
man.
go to bed.
Oh, this was
I'm okay. It's morning in Japan.
You're ready for VR chat day.
That's right.
See you soon. Bye. Okay.